The Young and the Restless spoilers next 2-week full episodes June 16 to June 27, 2025. The wheels of the luxury train continued to churn rhythmically across the rugged terrain of southern France, carrying within it not only some of the most powerful names in Genoa City, but also a gathering storm of suspicion, resentment, and unspoken truths. Sharon sat rigidly, her gaze fixed on the countryside blurring outside the window, but her mind was anything but still. Nikki sat across from her, her features tense, her silence brittle. Nick leaned against the back wall with arms folded, his eyes never straying far from Victor, who stood near the window, arms clasped behind his back, unmoved by the tension pulsing through the cabin. "Victor," Sharon finally said, her voice quiet but unyielding, "we've reached the point where keeping quiet is no longer a sign of control. It's dangerous. We need to know the truth. Who is Aristotle Dumas?" Nikki nodded, her eyes sharp. "You know more than you've told us. The way you reacted when his name was first mentioned, the way you've danced around questions, this isn't just a business threat. It's personal." Nick stepped forward, his voice tight. "Are we walking into some kind of ambush here? You've had your secrets, Dad, but if this goes sideways, we all go down with you." Victor exhaled, still facing the window. "Dumas isn't just a man. He's a symbol. A shadow built out of power and precision. He's risen in ways that defy every known structure, every familiar path. No one climbs that high that fast without help, or without a purpose." Sharon's heart thudded. "So you think he has a personal vendetta against you?" Victor turned slowly. "I think someone helped him become who he is. Someone who knew exactly where to hit us. And Dumas? He doesn't want money. He wants to take everything we've built and make us watch as it burns." Before more could be said, the door to the private car slid open and Billy Abbott entered, flanked closely by Sally Spectra. The air in the car tightened immediately. Sharon sat straighter. Nikki's lips pursed. Nick rolled his eyes, and Victor's entire demeanor grew stone cold. Billy sauntered in with a grin, hands in pockets. "Did I miss the sermon? Or are we still pretending Dumas is just another eccentric billionaire?" Victor gave him a look colder than steel. "Don't speak unless you intend to contribute something valuable." Billy laughed. "Oh, so that's a no, then." He moved to sit, ignoring the discomfort he created like a seasoned performer. "Tell me, Victor. Are you sure this isn't all just one giant trap to show off your ego? Because if it is, congratulations. You've got us all exactly where he wants us." Victor's jaw clenched. "If Dumas thinks he can bait me, he's in for a surprise." Billy leaned in, lowering his voice. "You think you're still in control, but the truth is, you're already in the cage. You just haven't noticed the door locking behind you." Sharon shot Billy a warning glance, but the damage was done. The tension in the car had shifted. Again. Back in Genoa City, at Adam Newman's penthouse, Chelsea stood near the window, arms crossed, her expression flickering between concern and frustration. Adam sat at his desk, his laptop open, a document on screen glowing like a threat. "He expects you to go through with it," Chelsea said. "The article. The takedown piece on Billy. He wants it published first thing tomorrow." Adam didn't look up. "He thinks it'll finally cripple the Abbotts. He thinks it'll clear the way for me." Chelsea stepped forward. "But is that what you want?" Adam finally turned. "I'm out of moves, Chelsea. I've tried working with him. Against him. Around him. Nothing sticks. Every step I take brings me right back into Victor's orbit." She softened slightly. "Then stop. Walk away from it. You've proven you can run the company. Forget the article. Forget Billy. Forget revenge." Adam stared at her, tired. "You don't just walk away from legacy. You drown in it." She moved closer. "I wish we could just forget all of it. The games, the expectations. Just run the business. That's what you're good at. Adam leaned back in his chair. Billy's just a pawn. Jack is the real target. Victor's war isn't with Billy. It's with every man who ever challenged him. But I'm not publishing it. Not this time. Chelsea blinked. You're serious? Adam nodded. Let Victor be angry. Let him scream. I'm tired of doing his dirty work. Elsewhere, in a quiet corner of the GCAC, Holden Novak sat nursing a drink, watching the ice melt with an expression of someone trying not to shatter. Nate Hastings slid into the seat across from him. Let me guess, Nate said. Still obsessing over Damien? Holden didn't blink. He's in deeper than we thought. Deeper than Dumas, maybe. Nate scoffed. That's impossible. Is it? Holden asked. How else do you explain the way he vanishes, how he knows things he shouldn't? Nate leaned forward. Look, we were both played. Dumas manipulated us. Probably Damien too. But obsessing won't solve anything. Holden smiled bitterly. I'm a survivor, Nate. I've always been one. But survival means knowing when to stay and when to disappear. Nate's voice dropped. Then disappear. Get out of town. Because whatever Dumas is building, it's not finished. And you don't want to be caught in the foundation. Back on the train, the countryside gave way to a darker terrain, thick forests, narrowing tracks, and the silhouette of a looming estate barely visible in the distance. Sharon stood, her instincts screaming. We're almost there. Nikki rose beside her, lips drawn thin. This place, it doesn't feel like a retreat. It feels like a warning. Nick checked his phone. Still no word from Phyllis. She's completely off the radar. Victor stood tall. We go in together. No one strays. No one plays hero. And if Dumas is watching, we let him know the Newmans don't break. Billy smirked. Let me guess. You'll remind him of who you are. Victor glared at him. No. I'll remind him of what happens when someone underestimates me. As the train slowed to a halt and the iron gates of the estate loomed in the distance, a quiet settled over the group. Not peace. Never peace, but resolve. A storm had gathered. Shadows waited on the other side. But so did the truth. And this time, no one would escape untouched. The lights of the GCAC bar flickered dimly overhead, casting long shadows across the table where Holden Novak sat, swirling the remaining ice in his whiskey glass. His posture was slouched, yet his eyes burned with something unresolved, part bitterness, part self-loathing. Across from him, Nate Hastings nursed a tonic with the kind of silence that was half resignation, half concern. For the past few days, Holden had been circling a conversation neither of them wanted to finish. Nate finally broke the silence. You've got nothing left tying you here, Holden. No job. No place at Chancellor Winters. And Damien Kane's shadow is growing longer by the day. Holden didn't answer immediately. He simply exhaled, the sound heavy and tired. You think I should leave town? Nate shrugged. I think you need a reset. Go back to LA, get some distance. You've been here long enough to see this place for what it is, a trap in designer suits. Holden chuckled without humor. You're probably right. He swirled his drink again, then looked up, jaw tightening. But if I'm honest, this has less to do with Damien or the job. It's Audra. Nate blinked. Audra Charles? Yeah, Holden muttered. I acted like I was cool with her and Nate, her and Tucker. Her and whoever the hell else she plays these games with. But I wasn't. Not really. He leaned back, eyes narrowing. There's something about her that gets under your skin. Makes you think you're the only one she lets in. But with Audra, you're always in a room full of mirrors. You never know which version is real. Nate was quiet for a beat, then offered, "That's why I left her behind. And maybe that's why you should too." Holden didn't respond. He just stared at the glass like it might offer an answer. Or a way out. Miles away, the train carrying the Newman family carved its way through dense forest, winding ever closer to the elusive estate of Aristotle Dumas. The car they occupied was quiet, but not restful, more like the silence before a storm, heavy with anticipation. Victor stood at the edge of the room, eyes narrowed as he studied the decor. Everything about the car was deliberate, too curated, too symbolic. Nikki walked slowly to a side table, fingers grazing the etched glass and polished silver. "This place doesn't feel like luxury," she murmured. "It feels like a mausoleum dressed up in gold." Nick moved toward the small bar, eyeing the unopened bottles of vintage champagne and the tin of caviar resting in a sterling dish. "What kind of host serves food without showing his face?" he asked, but there was no jest in his tone. Just wariness. Sharon, standing near the center of the car, spotted something tucked just beneath a crystal decanter, a pale envelope with her name handwritten in looping script. She picked it up carefully, heart thudding, and turned toward Victor. "This was left for us." She handed it over. Victor took the envelope, opening it with calm deliberation. Inside was a card of thick cream paper. He cleared his throat and read aloud. "All human wisdom is contained in these two words, wait and hope." He looked up, frowning. "What the hell is this?" Nikki stepped closer. "What does that mean?" Victor exhaled through his nose. "It's a quote from the Count of Monte Cristo. Dumas is either a scholar or a narcissist." Sharon's expression grew darker. "Or both. Either way, I'm not touching anything he's provided. Champagne. Caviar. Not a damn thing. We don't know who we're dealing with." She looked around at the elegant, shadow-drenched room. "And the truth is, no one else does either." The train continued to rumble forward, but inside the control room of the estate up ahead, Aristotle Dumas stood before a wall of screens. Each monitor showed a different angle of the train, inside, outside, infrared, audio, real-time. Every movement, every word spoken, every fearful glance, it was all recorded. Dumas stood with hands clasped behind his back, expression unreadable. One of his assistants, a thin man in tailored gray, stepped up beside him. "They've opened the letter." Dumas nodded slowly. "And now they'll begin to ask the right questions. Questions that can only lead them further into the truth they've long buried." The assistant hesitated. "And if they don't follow the path?" Dumas turned, his voice low. "Then I'll light the rest of it on fire." Back on the train, Victor folded the letter and placed it on the table with a quiet thud. "This man wants to unsettle us. To make us see things that may not be real." Nikki crossed her arms. "And what if what we see is real? What if the illusions are just the mask we've lived behind for years?" Nick looked from his father to the letter. "He's setting the stage. Pushing us into our own guilt. Maybe he's not the enemy we think he is. Maybe he's holding up a mirror." Sharon shook her head. "Or maybe he's just another predator who enjoys watching the powerful squirm." Victor's eyes burned with something primal. Then he chose the wrong family. As the train surged onward, deeper into foreign land and foreign intent, no one spoke. The only sound was the metallic hum of motion, and the slow, inevitable click of a trap drawing shut. The train continued its steady journey deeper into the southern countryside of France, its polished metal reflecting the setting sun like a blade drawn from shadow. Inside the private car reserved for the Newman family and their inner circle, the tension had reached an eerie equilibrium. No one trusted the luxury, yet no one dared to break the silence with anything other than polite curiosity. Nick, who had grown weary of the growing paranoia, reached for a canopy and took a bite, chewing thoughtfully. You're all acting like the food's laced with cyanide, he said, glancing over at Sharon. It's actually fine. Rich, but fine. Sharon, ever cautious, didn't reach for anything. Just because it tastes fine doesn't mean it's safe. You forget I've been poisoned before. Nick gave her a sideways glance but said nothing more. Victor, meanwhile, was scanning the perimeter of the car as if each velvet-lined wall could conceal a camera or a bomb. When are the other guests arriving, he muttered, more to himself than anyone else. If Dumas wanted to make a show of this, where's the rest of the audience? He reached for a glass of champagne but didn't drink it. His voice dropped lower. What kind of man lures his enemies onto a moving train, fills their glasses, and hides behind quotations from 19th-century novels? Nikki watched her husband carefully, noting the shift in his tone. Victor, do you know who he really is? She asked softly, her voice edged with something between dread and curiosity. But before Victor could speak, the heavy door at the end of the car slid open with a hiss, and Billy Abbott strolled in, followed by Sally Spectra, both dressed impeccably and carrying themselves like people who knew they had already walked into the lion's den but had decided to smile at it anyway. Well, Billy drawled as he looked around. Are we all just waiting for the mystery host to drop from the ceiling? Or has the paranoia made everyone forget how to enjoy caviar? Victor didn't stand. He didn't need to. His presence filled the room as he turned his head just enough to acknowledge Billy. Billy boy, he said with the familiar disdain of a man swatting away a gnat. You've never known how to be quiet when it matters. Billy smiled. And you've never known how to be wrong. But hey, maybe this weekend will surprise us both. He moved to pour himself a drink while Sally nodded politely to Sharon and Nick. So, Billy continued, any theories about what's really in store? What kind of skeletons Dumas plans to parade out of the closet? Victor's eyes narrowed. The only thing that'll be revealed over the next few days is that you're still a useless bastard. Billy chuckled. Spoken like a man on the edge. You don't see it, Victor, but you're the one who's about to get a very rude awakening. The air in the train car thickened with unsaid things. Everyone took their seats around the mahogany table, the crystal chandeliers above casting refracted light across faces that had grown weary of pretending to be allies. Caviar glistened untouched. Champagne sweated in its flutes. The silence was broken only when Sharon leaned slightly forward and said, Victor, weren't you just about to tell us who Dumas really is? Victor met her eyes but didn't speak right away. Then he said slowly, let me put it this way. No matter where this journey ends, we will come face to face with Aristotle Dumas. That much I'm sure of. His words weren't an answer, they were a warning. A promise. A prophecy. The camera cut to a dimly lit room miles away, where Aristotle Dumas stood before a wall of glowing monitors. Each screen was tuned into a different camera angle from the train, heat signatures, audio feeds, high-resolution footage of every single glass lifted, every eyebrow raised, every word whispered. He stood still, watching them with the detachment of a man observing specimens in a laboratory. On screen, Victor leaned back in his chair and folded his arms. Nikki whispered something to Sharon. Billy made another quip. But Dumas saw it all, every twitch of unease, every signal of betrayal. And he smiled. It won't be long now, he said aloud, to no one in particular. His voice was different. His accent, once vaguely European, perhaps French, now slipped. It was flatter. More American. And just for a second, it carried a hint of something else, Australian. In the glow of the screens, he reached into a drawer and pulled out a passport. The camera panned to the name, Kane Ashby. He stared at it, expression unreadable. Then he shut the drawer and turned back to the screen.